Hello guys, and I feel like today we have to speak about something that YouTube does not like. Neither do I, but after 3 drones exploded on the territory of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, unfortunately still under control of Russian invaders, I feel there are many things that need clarification, and yes, this is a new wave of escalation as described by the representatives of the International Atomic Energy Agency. And no, these are not Ukrainian drones. Same as there are no Ukrainian troops on the territory of the NPP, we do not mine the territory around and we never put explosives close to reactors. But unfortunately, Russians do. They use nuclear power plant as another argument in their global threat to the planet. Let me tell you more about the Zaporizhzhia power plant itself and these new threats that Russians try to use to frighten us all. My name is Anna and I vlog daily from Ukraine since the start of the brutal Russian invasion. So if you're new to the channel, you support Ukraine, please subscribe and help us fight against Russian propaganda and fake news. And my longtime friends, check your subscription status and hit notification button. In this video, told from an ordinary Ukrainian perspective, I will first of all update you on what happened on the 7th of April on the territory of Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Then perhaps I will remind you about the size, importance, and thus danger that any accident on its territory imposes on all of us. And I will remind you why it is a typical Russian strategy and also closely connected to Chornobyl catastrophe, which we commemorate every 26th of April. So on the 7th of April this year, 3 drones exploded on the territory of the nuclear power plant in Zaporizhzhia. Some of these drones, one of them at least, reached the shell of the 6th nuclear reactor. And this is huge. And it actually partially destroyed some kind of layers. To make it less tragic, I have to tell you that all of nuclear power plants are constructed the way they can withstand a falling of an aircraft, because people understand they are a very dangerous source of radioactive elements and you never want anything to happen around it, unless you are a Russian soldier. But in general, all the constructions, they are extremely stable and strong, but this is a very bad precedent. And of course, this is not a Ukrainian drone because we plan to live on these territories and we are very much afraid of any kind of pollution, explosion. We have our experience. And to make it even more vivid, I need to remind you that there are lots of threats that Russians brought to the territory of the NPP together with its occupation. Well, first of all, lack of qualified professionals. Many Ukrainians were tortured. Unfortunately, I think some might have been killed, imprisoned, and they brought Russian professionals. And many Ukrainians denied cooperating with Russians. So they brought their own specialists who may be unaware of Zaporizhzhia NPP peculiarities. Also, constant shellings around the NPP may lead to blackouts, and blackouts are bad for power stations. After the explosion on Kakhovka Dam, the level of water dropped and changed rapidly within a short period that could lead to the problems with the cooling system. But these are these secondary threats. Remember to subscribe if you're new to the channel to demonstrate your solidarity and spread more information about Ukraine and Russian war crimes that actually threaten the world. So as I've said, these are secondary threats, but first-hand threats is that Russians put lots of weapons, lots of explosive things on the territory of Zaporizhzhia NPP because they know we will not target these areas. We're not crazy as they are. Also, they locate lots of irresponsible, sometimes drunk troops on its territory. And they mine the territory, which is insane. I hate it how all of these international organizations, including the Atomic Energy one, simply express concerns. It took them 2 years to address Russia with a concern that they need to leave Zaporizhzhia back to Ukraine. 2 years. And Russia, with the help of such Russian arguments like dropping drones, mining the territory, causing problems to the cooling system. These are typical Russian arguments, by the way. They try to persuade International Atomic Energy Agency accept Zaporizhzhia to the system of Russia and stop treating it as a Ukrainian energy object. Fortunately, they do not agree, but Russians continue escalating. No one in Ukraine would do it. Well, first of all, once again, we plan to live on these territories. These are our people. This is our nature. This is our water. We care about the peoples and nations and cultures and environment around us. We went through the hardest experience of Chernobyl. And the greatest tragedy of this catastrophe was actually not the catastrophe itself, but how Russia hid the information about radiation. And for more than a week, people did not know how dangerous that was and exposed their children, walked around, did not evacuate. And only because of the reaction from Sweden, they started commenting. But they were ready to sacrifice thousands of innocent lives simply to hide traditional Soviet malfunction, negligence, or even if it was like inevitable, still their reaction must have been different. And now, occupying Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, actually the largest plant in Ukraine and potentially the largest one in Europe that worked well, produced lots of good energy and exported it to the world, they threaten, they drop explosives on its territory, and they don't care. This is a very typical Russian approach. I'm sure you remember one of the answers of dictator Putin. When asked about something, he said, "We don't need the world without Russia. We will destroy the world without Russia." Actually, I cannot imagine any other global leader saying something like that. Only global criminals threaten the world, and that's what they do right now. And actually, they don't care if this radioactive cloud will go their own way. What is even more terrifying to some extent. Anyway, let me know what do you think about this situation in the comments below, and do you remember Chernobyl catastrophe? How did you learn about it? Because I don't have my memories, but unfortunately my generation in Ukraine was called Chernobyl generation. Thank you so much for your support and understanding. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons, and helping me film and work more. Join me on X, Threads, Discord, and Instagram. And remember to check our beautiful merch shop with lots of items that work well as conversation starters. But most importantly, please address your representatives, persuade those who doubt. We need to win in this war, and the sooner the better, for the sake of mankind. Slava Ukraini!